So we've gotten into this rhythm of about every other day giving you an update on the transfer portal, so I'm not just coming here and talking to you. Like, we have some things to discuss, players to break down, etc. So I'm very excited for this conversation because we're going to do a little bit of two things. We're going to do two things that solve the same problem at the same time. I'm Thomas Rankar, by the way, film analyst and host of the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel, and we're going to do both of those things today. You're going to get some honest-to-God film breakdowns, some all 22 here on this video, because I want to describe the Iowa State, now Penn State, passing attack and why they need a certain type of receiver in this offense. And of course, then that's going to transition into why they picked Kieth Jones Jr. from Grambling State out of the transfer portal. Everybody likes big, fast wide receivers, but why is that important? We're going to break all of that down here on this video. And by the way, later this week, a ton of conversation about the defense. I spent yesterday, today, and here and there for a while now, trying to figure out like the nitty-gritty of these defensive philosophies. And so I'm very confident in where we are now in that. So we're going to be talking about fronts, coverages, linebackers, overs, unders, Sams, wills, all that this week on the Blue White Illustrated live show and on subsequent videos. But that's not what we're talking about today. I'm just going to give you the cursor. Like the video, subscribe here at the beginning. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the passing attack. Now, we're going to be focusing on the quarterback in this video. And that is because the passing attack flows from the quarterback. But we're going to be going into why those receivers he's throwing to need to have certain characteristics and body types. So here we are breaking down Rocco Becht and Iowa State's passing attack. All right. This is what everyone's been waiting for. This is what everyone wants to see. Rocco Becht deep ball passes. 3rd and 5, fourth quarter against Iowa Tide. You get the motion from the receiver out wide, and so we get a match over here by the corner. We have a pretty good sense this is going to be man coverage across the board. Beck sees that. He gets some hand signals to communicate with his receivers. You see it right here. Gets everybody on the same page. And then they go after the snap, and he delivers an absolute strike on the slot fade over the slot corner. And this is the thing I love about this, is you look at the ball placement on this. You can see it from this angle. We'll watch it from the end zone angle next. This is absolute perfection because the safety is already shaded that way. Let's rewind. The safety's in the middle of the field. He's already creeping this way because he knows where his weaknesses are, right? He knows that slot receiver's out there, and he's got to cover anything deep. Most likely it's going over here, and it doesn't matter. The ball is in such a good location. It's over the corner, it's away from the safety, and it's dropped in an absolute bucket. If there's one thing you need to know about Rocco Becht, his deep ball placement, his ability to lead receivers vertically down the field and to come back and hit back shoulder passes is exceptional. This is an awesome play. It wasn't rewarded the way you would like with a catch here and the ball at the 20-yard line, setting up for going ahead scoring in the fourth quarter. But the quarterback, the throw, this is really good. Okay, so I'm very excited to watch this in the future for Penn State football, and it's something that I don't know the last time that we saw this. Maybe Trace McSorley was throwing a bunch of back shoulder fades, but I don't think so. This is one of the most indefensible plays in football if you've got a good deep passing game, and I think it's vital. It's the thing from Penn State's passing repertoire that was missing for the last decade, which is if you want to be a vertically based offense, and Iowa State wanted to be a very vertically based offense, they're going to want to be a very vertically based offense at Penn State. You cannot have these just be dead plays. We've had so many conversations about, well, they called deep shots, but they didn't take them because they weren't open. This isn't open. Like, this is a good job by the corner in this man covered situation. So you got a deep free safety here, and it's a slot wheel. So you got the slot receiver. This is Chase Soule, the number one receiver. He's going upfield, and the corner does a good job. He stays on top of this. He sees it coming. He does not allow for a deep ball to over the top. So the quarterback and the receiver are on the same page. They have chemistry, and they come back to the back shoulder. This, when you're able to do that, you have a successful deep passing game, and you've got this touch and accuracy, and you've got big receivers that can go up and get it. This is borderline indefensible. Like, you can't cover this. This is undefendable when you've got touch, accuracy, and good hands through contested catch situations. And the good thing about this, you see where the ball is. This is not a jump ball. This is not, okay, we're going to both go up and try to rebound up here. This is to the back shoulder so he can shield the DB and have a better opportunity to catch this football. It's not a random up in the air sort of pass. I am excited to watch how this plays out in the next couple of years.
Have you heard of Way Fruit Farm? It's this great farm market bakery and cafe. You can shop with them either at their farm in Port Matilda or downtown State College.
No way.
Yes, Way Fruit Farm. They have all sorts of seasonal fruits and veggies.
Way cool.
No, Way Fruit Farm. But anyway, you should visit their bakery and cafe. They serve amazing food all day.
Way
Fruit Farm!
So I have a full breakdown of Rocco Becht specifically over at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. I'll put a link in the description of this video, including what we're going to talk about next as well. So there's going to be a bunch of links in the video if you want to go and read more about these conversations we're having here. Of course, if you want to do that, subscribe to BlueWhiteIllustrated.com right now. It is our 50% off transfer portal sale. So you get BlueWhiteIllustrated.com, all this analysis, unfettered, unhinged analysis from me, plus everything from all of our guys that are breaking news and getting you all the information from the transfer portal as it happens. If you want to follow along the blow-by-blow, Greg Pickle and Ryan and Nate and Fitz have you covered on all those things. They do a great job of having inside sources to let you know what's going to happen. And then, of course, the follow-up when it does happen. I trail behind them like trying to keep up and provide some analysis of like, hey, what does all of that mean? And so we're doing that here on this particular video. And one of those situations was Kieth Jones Jr., which I want to get to in just a second. But I want to talk to the larger point of why do you need those big-bodied receivers? Why do you need Chase Soule, who is 6'3", 210? As you saw in that video, jump balls are easier, even back shoulder balls, when you're physically large enough to shield the defender away. You can be a great jump ball receiver if you're 5'11", 190 and you jump out of the gym, or you just generally play bigger than your body type. But at a certain point, football size does matter. And let's talk about Noah Pauley, who is the receivers coach at Penn State. Throughout his career, there is now a strong indication. Talking about Soule already, it's 6'3", 210. But you can go to his career and you can see the number of players that he's produced that go to the NFL. Christian Watson at North Dakota State. Jaden Higgins last year from going to the Texans from Iowa State. Soule and now who we're going to talk about next, Kieth Jones Jr. These are big-bodied X-receivers. So the point is to find and develop explosive downfield targets to augment this offense and make it more than a one-dimensional, tight end heavy offense. Because here's the dirty secret. This is what Penn State wanted to be the whole time. James Franklin could not get it done. He could not find the receivers. He could not find the coach to get all of this done and to build this explosive passing attack. Because the Iowa State offense, outside zone, multiple tight ends, the big difference between all of that stuff and the dink and dunk spread offense that they have from a two tight end system is the receivers. This is the defining difference. And so it's why we focused so much on it. It is the potential difference maker for Penn State with Rocco Becht under center is to throw bombs away and chuck it downfield and to actually have success there. And that is the receiver's responsibility to get open, and if not, go up and sky up and get the ball. And that is where we bring you now to Kieth Jones Jr. Grambling State, 6'4", 185, vertical X receiver. You see exactly the template that they're trying to recreate. And it's something that Penn State did not have on the roster, from a variety of players and skills and abilities. This is not what they had on the roster previously. The three transfer seniors, again, like I said, Penn State wanted to have these elements, but they were going about it with a 5'11", 170-pound receiver from Troy. And, I still think those players were good enough to get the passing job done, but they did not have these elements that are specific traits and skill based. They were trying to make it work with Trevor Pena and with Kyron Hudson and guys that did not have just this skill set. I know I'm kind of repeating myself, but let's talk about Kieth Jones Jr. Big wingspan, downfield speed, vertical stretch, yards after the catch is also interesting in terms of the skills he brings to the table on film. At Grambling State, he started the year not as the starter and then worked his way to becoming the starter over time. And you want that narrative of a guy coming from the FCS level that he is clearly outpacing all of those things. So 7 broken tackles last year, 177 yards after the catch. That's really great stuff because if you catch the ball at 15 yards and then you add another 6 21 yards on a play is an explosive passing play that you love, and the quarterback did not have to work as hard to do that, so you're helping the passing game out. Same thing like a running back that gets yards after contact. The offensive line got him 4 yards. Did he get another 10? Because that's an explosive run play right there, baby. So that's what you're looking for. I don't know if that translates, but the size, the vertical ability, he's got a massive wingspan and big hands, so he catches the point. He high points the ball really well. Now, the concerns, like we know what the template is. We know what they want from him. Is he going to be able to deliver that? And is he going to be able to deliver that this upcoming year? And this is where he'll have to improve at Penn State. His route efficiency and his footwork through stems of routes, because you can't just be a one-note player. It's easy, if you know what's coming, to take that away. So if you know that this is a receiver that's going to run only deep routes, and you just sit 10 yards off the line of scrimmage, it doesn't matter how fast they are, that you've got a 10-yard head start as a defensive back, and you're probably not slow. So you need to be able to run routes across the field and get open at multiple levels. They're not going to just throw deep balls. They have to run all of these routes. And so with Kieth Jones, he needs to take his transitions as a 6'4 receiver. He's never going to be running it like Kobe Howard, right? But as a 6'4 receiver, he needs to go from 5 steps of transition into a 3-step transition, which is more reasonable. And you saw a progression of that throughout the year, which is why he began to start late in the year, is because he was an explosive play threat that they could trust in a couple of different situations instead of just kind of as that guy who did one thing pretty well. So that's where you need to see the growth. And then it's just efficiency. You watch young players and they don't look right. I know that's a dumb thing. They don't pass the looks test, but what it is, it's wasted movement. So if you're going to try and set up a DB with your footwork or with a head fake, and the head fake takes you off balance, and suddenly you have to gather yourself again and get back on center and then move, you have now taken what you were trying to make an advantage and you have put yourself behind the 8 ball. Like, you have now made yourself slower because you weren't efficient and you weren't, your fundamentals weren't as good. So working on all those things, route releases, hand fighting, generally just keeping things tighter. As a big guy, you get your arms out and then again, your gravity starts to be pulled away from the center and you don't move as efficiently. So that's really for him. How quickly he does those things is going to be how quickly he can see the field. As a redshirt sophomore is what it'll be next year. I think Penn State will need him as a rotational player. I still think they need to add more receivers. They were going after guys that have similar profiles, but the problem is you've got 2 guys coming from Iowa State that are the obvious shoo-ins to start. And then if you want to bring in a guy like, I was very high on Noah Rogers here earlier, he probably wants to start. He probably wants to get the lion's share of the work, and you're not going to have him and Chase Sowell co-start. That would be the goal, but I don't think that's... So you're looking for somebody who has upward trajectory, will be willing to work into a starting rotation as maybe a number 2 X receiver, and you can build your offense out from there. I think when we're talking about Penn State's passing attack and now pivoting away from just Kieth Jones Jr. into the larger conversation, Peter Gonzalez looks like a Z to me in this conversation, as he could play either, to be clear. But as one of those guys that's on the other side of the ball, I think he has an opportunity to play there, especially because Kieth Jones, I don't know if he would fit that route, that kind of player. Either way, it doesn't matter. From what you saw in the videos, if you can go up and get the ball down the field, they're going to throw you the football because you can line up a guy who's 6'4" in the slot if you're just running down the field, right? If you don't have a 2-way go and you're not running choice routes and you want to slot fade, both those passes that we saw were slot fades to guys who were 6 foot or taller. So positional flexibility, it doesn't matter specifically, but you do want to have kind of a structure of where guys start, and then you move them around from motions and shifts and formations for what you're looking for on that particular play. So that's our big picture look at the Penn State passing attack. And I feel better about it, like having these things kind of put a pin in that one. And okay, so we understand that. We get an idea of what Penn State wants from a recruiting standpoint. We understand why and how it applies to the offense. And then from there, we can go on and see like how good are they going to be and what are they going to do with all this talent on the roster, or do they need to get more? I think they still need to add more receivers. I think from that perspective of losing Matt Otten and some of those other young players, maybe not all of them didn't really fit this vertical offense, but they did have the size you were looking for, and they did, in certain situations, have the speed to get down the field. So be on the lookout at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com for more information about this. And of course, like I said, we got a depth chart for Penn State football on the defensive side of the ball out. I explained as best I can in detail each level of D'Anton Lynn's defense and how those players will fit in, and then explained in the depth chart why they play where they play. So a lot of information about Penn State football over at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. We'll be talking more about it here on the YouTube channel, BWI Live, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and I'll be providing you some updates and some other videos throughout the week. So that'll do it for now. I'm Thomas Frank Carr. Talk to you in a little bit.